Play only American music. Will do. I work in a federal building and everyone in their cubicle are allowed to play music at a reasonable and comfortable level. Now, I really enjoy music and my taste can change daily. I can listen to opera one day, trance, techno the next day, Welsh the following, and then traditional Chinese. So on my last work day, I decided to listen to Hajj music. I didn't realize I was playing it louder than normal until I got an email from Veronica, my neighbor, asking me to turn it down. Ops. So I complied and lowered it. On Monday, just as I was walking in, my manager calls me into his office. He basically told me that some of my co-workers felt uneasy and uncomfortable with my choice of music on Friday and he is just kindly asking if I can only play instrumental or American music. I could have thought this, but why bother? I said I sure and he thanked me. It wasn't hard to figure it out who made the complaint. In the beginning of the morning, all cubicles are full with employees going through emails and checking trouble tickets. By mid-morning, basically everyone leaves to go do work on the field. I'd normally go too, but I'm on limited desk duty for the time being. So that only leaves me, my neighbor Veronica, and Teresa who sat in front of me, that stay behind. My manager had his own personal office in front of all of us, but he is not in earshot of us and he was always in and out all day. I nailed it down to Teresa because I also noticed that Veronica, who used to play mariachi and Tejano music, is now playing slow jazz. So, I search through YouTube and I make the perfect playlist. A mix of Native American and Hawaiian music. Almost instantly, from the first lyrics of the opening theme song from Lilo and Stitch, I heard Teresa Scorn. My next song was Yanahain from the Sacred Spirit soundtrack. This made Teresa Scorn louder and I heard her get up from her chair. Sure enough, about a minute later I got an email from my manager saying to come see him. I enter his office and saw my manager behind his desk and Teresa standing to the side with her arms crossed and a pissed off look in her face. My manager speaks first and says, "Didn't I kindly ask you to play American music?" I quickly responded, "Yes you did." So I start playing Hawaiian and Native American music. "That's not what he meant. And that's not American music," Teresa said loudly. My manager face palms himself and I try my hardest not to laugh. After a few seconds, Teresa speaks again. "So is he gonna stop playing the music or what?" Teresa asks. My manager releases his face and looks up at me and then looks at Teresa. He knows she's been defeated. "You've asked me to ask him to play American music. Well, he's done that. Hawaii is part of America and Native American is American. I've made accommodations for both of you, and that's all I can do." Teresa was not having this. She throws her arms down her side in frustration and then says no, he needs to play American English music so we can all understand it. My boss continues, "There is no policy or rule on what kind of music is allowed to be played in cubicles as long as it's not hateful, bigotry, racists, or abusive in nature. The only policy in place and enforced is that music must be played at a comfortable and reasonable level. All I can do is ask if he can change his music, but if he came in here and said no then that's it. Again, I've made accommodations for both of you. At point, we are done here. Otherwise, I'll have to enforce the rest of the policy." I knew where he was going with this. "What's that?" asked Teresa. "At manager's discretion. Meaning, I can stop all music if it's causing a problem. Do you want that?" Teresa is clearly upset because from time to time, she also likes to play Christmas music, even in July, and she doesn't want to lose that. She storms out of his office but not before looking to me and muttering, "This isn't over." As soon as she's gone, I bust out laughing in my boss's office and he just smiles and shakes his head and tells me to get back to work. I respond to mahalo and leave his office. I got a feeling though, our music playing days are numbered now. Don't fix anything? Okay. As I have mentioned in other posts, Tales from Retail, I worked better than 30 years in convenience stores and boy the stuff I have seen and endured. However, this story is about malicious compliance, so let's get to it. I had worked for this particular chain of stores for a while and had learned many of the ins and outs of fixing minor problems to keep the store running. Printer stops working? Let me check the wiring. Ah, problem solved. Door sticking? I got this. Anyway, I am tightening the hinges on the door one day when my manager catches me. Now technically we, the store employees, are not supposed to fix anything. If it required maintenance of any kind, we were supposed to call it in and let the maintenance guys handle it, so the manager yelled at me for fixing the door. AJ, what are you doing? Fixing the door because it was sticking. No, we are supposed to call it and not fix it ourselves. But manager, it is just some loose screws. Look, it took like 5 minutes. I don't care, we are not supposed to fix anything. We call it in, period. So I can't fix anything? Not even simple stuff? No, nothing. Just call maintenance. If I catch you fixing anything again, I am going to write you up. You realize that it can take days for them to respond for simple things like the door sticking. She nodded. Okay, whatever you say. I stopped making repairs. Every time something broke, I filed a repair order, including things like wood trim breaking or a squeaking door. I didn't touch a thing. Maintenance got very tired of seeing our store number pop up on their computer, and the maintenance guy asked why I didn't just fix some of them since they were very simple repairs or did not really need a maintenance call. Manager said I had to report any repair, no matter how large or small, or I could be wrote up. So sorry. The final straw was when the coffee pot sprang a leak. Our coffee pots were hooked up to the main water supply, so when one of them started leaking, it didn't stop, just kept slowly dribbling water. I, as I was told to do, made a maintenance request, stamped it emergency, and placed some towels to stop the spread of water. I did not shut off the water, which would have been easy, because I was told not to fix anything. I told manager that the pot was leaking and that I had called maintenance. She came out of her office, saw the water still spreading, and turned to me in exasperation. Why is it still leaking? Because it is a maintenance issue and I am not to touch it per your orders. You could have turned off the water, which she proceeded to do. Nope, sorry, but you said I could get wrote up, so I am not touching anything maintenance related. She glared at me for a full minute before replying. This is different. Leaving the water run could cause significant damage, so it's okay to shut it off. Nope, not running the risk since you threatened to write me up. I am not touching a thing even remotely connected to maintenance. I was transferred to a sister station in town 2 weeks later for some reason. I also went back to fixing minor issues with no problems from my new manager. Check your contracts, government salary employees. So I work IT in a public school. I'm a 12-month employee who works 40 hours a week, 5 days. I'm constantly staying late, sometimes an hour or more, or coming in early. I don't get any overtime, but sometimes the job calls to be late. No big deal in my eyes. I get a half-hour lunch. Salaried at $55,000. Most days, I bring my lunch in. But sometimes I don't have leftovers or anything to bring in. There's a convenience shop that sells sandwiches and chips, which I usually go to whenever I don't bring in lunch. Since the sandwiches are made by order, they don't have an option to call in, so you have to wait for it. It takes around 12 or 13 to get there and back. So, before my break, lunch is at 12 noon every day, I'll run to the shop, get a sandwich and a Coke before my lunch break, and come back in time for lunch. Now this isn't every day, it's pretty rare. Maybe twice a month. My boss knows I stay late and never ask for odd or anything like that. He told me staying late was part of my job when necessary. I usually don't have an issue with him, but today I did. I ran out at 11:45, got a sandwich, came back and took lunch from 12:30. When I was just getting off my lunch, he called me into his office. Asked me what time I went on lunch. Told him what time. Then he asked me if I ran out before my break. Told him I did. He told me he was writing me up for stealing time for running out before my break. This is strange, considering this has never been a problem and I've never gotten a write-up. So I tell him that's fine, and he has to do what he has to do. Then I decide to look at my contract. Guess what? I get 2 15-minute break in addition to my half-hour lunch. So now, I'll be taking a 15-minute break whenever I feel like it. Thanks to my union. Teacher refuses to grade presentations, makes students grade instead. This just happened, so my computer technology teacher said that she would no longer be grading presentations. Instead, the students will be in charge of grading each other and the average scores will be taken. Long story short, everybody got perfect scores and the teacher couldn't do anything about it. Doing too many hours. So a bit ago I used to work in healthcare. We were allowed to work up to 55 hours a week, and so I would usually pick up around 3/4 extra shifts a month just to pay for treats and extras. I always made sure I never did too many hours and that I felt well in myself. Until a new senior nurse started from elsewhere in the hospital. She was quite brittle with all the staff, bringing in arbitrary new rules and just generally being rude until she wanted something. Then, her tone changed and she was sweetness and light. She started telling staff that picked up more than one extra shift a month that they were doing too many hours, and that we had to pick up fewer hours as it didn't reflect well on the department to have permanent staff working so much. She said this in the most condescending tone possible. I tried explaining the policy of the hospital, but she didn't listen, just said, well, I'm the senior nurse on this ward and this is how it is now. And to be honest, it wasn't worth my while just working one extra shift. So I stopped. I also stopped staying behind to help, as long as I wasn't impacting on patient safety or others apart from her. Got loads of notes to write? Too bad, I'm finished now. See you later. Got some samples for pharmacy? Think you'll be running those yourself? It all came to a head one day when, as I was getting ready to leave, she asked me to work a shift the next day. She said that she'd asked a staffing agency but they couldn't send anyone, and no one else wanted to pick up shifts. Then came the sweetness. Please, Mockingbirdie. Please, otherwise I will have to do it and I'm meant to be going to this tomorrow. I stopped. I smiled. I just said, well, I can't do too many hours. And you are the senior nurse. And left. Funnily enough, she never questioned me picking up shifts again.